Here we are again at NRB 2026, the first day on the convention floor. And it's just mind blowing again, the people that God brings our way and we get a chance to share. And joining me now, not only the famous Dr. Date the Word Carson himself, but if you were listening to Truth Talk Live last night, you heard us talk about this prayer wall and that's going on in Great Britain. And so nothing could be greater about Great Britain than Richard Gamble. And
I'm really not sure about
that. Maybe Jesus.
Yeah.
We'll go about with that. But Richard Gamble was God given this vision for this prayer wall. And for those who have never heard about it before, Richard, can you share a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, sure. So we are building a giant piece of public art about Jesus. It is a giant white infinity loop that arches 50 meters into the skyline. The base of it is about the size of an American football field. It's made up of 1 million bricks, and every single brick will represent a story of answered prayer, a time when somebody has prayed to Jesus, and they can say, this is what happened. And people who come will be able to take their phones, point it at any one of the bricks, and their phone will light up and it'll tell them the story of hope that lies within. And
I've got personally, I will share with you that I've got two that I've submitted because that's a cool thing that you can go right to the website and tell your story. I told both the story of when God answered my prayer to be cured with cancer.
Come on.
And also when I was having some brain surgery one time that I was in a phenomenal amount of pain and God answered that prayer. And so, what a cool thing. Because when I heard about this, who wouldn't want to, testify so that someday somebody, who knows?
Well, here's the amazing thing then. So somebody's going to read that story.
Right.
And it's going to change their life. I mean, we had a situation recently where one of our team had chronic fatigue syndrome. And he sat down and he said, Rich, I'm really sorry, but my doctor said I cannot do any more work. And he'd been trying to hide it for about 2 years. And his doctor said, that's enough. You got to stop. And so we sent him the stories that people had sent in about God healing them from chronic fatigue syndrome. And we didn't hear anything from him because he just shut off. And then 6 months later, he emailed me and he said, I've been reading those stories every day for 6 months. I've been praying, God, if you can do it for them, do it for me. And he said, I just want you to know that I'm back to work and God has healed me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and that in of itself is an unbelievable resource. Is you've received all these prayers on something very specific. And so I'm sure that in your database, that one of mine was lymphoma, and somebody that's diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. There's
Amazing.
This story of Robbie Dilmore, whatever the situation may be. Like, how cool! Like your story, like it's 2 Corinthians chapter 1, Doc, coming to life. Like God comforted you that you might comfort others with the comfort you were comforted with, and he's leveraging that through your vision, Richard, and what an amazing.
Yeah.
And you've been working on this for how long?
22 years now. So, I mean, we've now moved into a completely different phase, which is incredible and scary in that we've raised the money for the monument. So we've raised £40 million and we started building in November. So what's great is I'm not sharing a vision about it anymore when people are like, oh, right, that'll be nice, thinking it'll never happen. I mean, it is a legal certainty now. The challenge is we still need to raise more money to make the site operational with visitor center and car park and that. And I'm glad you pointed it out at the start of this. We need people to do just like you've done, to share their stories with us. And it's interesting to me that remains the hardest thing to do. It's easier we've more people who've donated than people who've shared their testimony. And the reason I believe that is this. In Revelation, it says they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. And that to me tells me there's a battle around the testimony. And so,
I can tell you that this is so relevant. If you're watching this, I'm telling you, okay, that I realized how powerful my testimony was through the way God had leveraged it through the radio. And so I went to my parents and I said, Mom and Dad, I want you to write out your testimony. I want to post it on Ancestry. So 5 generations from now,
Right.
whoever wants to know about these people back in there, that this is how they came to know Christ. And it was like polling. My mother was, but I'm telling you, it was not an easy, there was a battle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But how cool would it be, as you're listening right now, right? How cool would it be if you could right now look back at your 6th great-grandfather and find out how he came to Christ?
Yeah.
Because his story is so connected to your story. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
That his prayers, I assure you, have to do with your own faith.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so now you've got this opportunity where people from around the world can come to England or New Great Britain, either one. It's a very close proximity to one another. and see these phenomenal testimonies. And again, what a neat thing. It's for your family to know that I've got this stuff there at this, like once you've posted your prayer, your answer to prayer, then you let your family know that I've got a brick, man, and the sure.
And the thing is as well that it's not just for people who come and visit. You know, I if you look at Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro, they get 30 million Googles a year. Now, I believe what we're building is going to be globally iconic. So I believe that 30 million people each year are going to digitally search. They're going to find a database of 1 million answered prayers. And if you imagine a person doing that, what are they going to do in that moment? I think they're going to type in whatever storm of life they're currently experiencing. So we think 1 million people are going to see it physically. We think 30 million people are going to see it digitally. And of course, when you times those numbers up by 150 years, which is how long it'll last, we hope it'll last a lot longer. It's a lot of people are going to read your story of answer prayer. I mean, that's powerful.
Right. And even if Jesus comes back next week, I can assure you that it's still.
I've got full disclosure here. I've got to be honest. If Jesus comes back next week, we are going to have a chat. I'll submit and I'll be thrilled, but I'm definitely going to have some questions.
But nonetheless, how many? So you the goal is 1 million.
Yeah.
How many? Where are we at?
So we've got 125,000 so far, and we want to get up to between 250 and 300 by the time we open, because we want it. This will be a living monument, so we will light it up to the extent that we have answered prayers. So people will see it differently over the weeks, the years, and the months. And then when we get to 1 million, we'll put 2 answered prayers on every brick, and then we'll light it up a different way.
Of course. So, Doc, I got an inquiring minds, man.
Yeah. Well,
I'm saying, have you personally?
I've been there to see the vision.
No, I'm asking, have you personally submitted an answered prayer?
Oh, I'm putting together a list. So, no, I've still got to get mine done. I have
Slacker.
to full disclosure. I have.
No,
you might say that. I couldn't possibly comment.
I have not done the. I have it right here. It's on my phone. It's so easy to do. I just got to get it done.
Yeah, because he needs 150,000, and they're going to build this thing, and I can't imagine.
I keep finding them, but I haven't sent them.
Oh, well, I'm encouraged. I've got lots. I'm going to send more.
Yeah, please do. And we're encouraging people to say, hey, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and see if you can share 10. Because the interesting thing is, you immediately go to the 1 or 2 that spring to mind. Yeah. If you start thinking about 10, I tell you, I guarantee every listener, you will be so blessed by the time, because God will bring to your remembrance things that you've asked him for.
Do you think it's hard to talk about yourself, though, sharing this? I mean, even in churches, when people will ask for testimonies, you kind of feel like, well, am I now bragging? But we need to brag.
Well, there's yeah,
The Holy Spirit bragged
Yeah.
about what
Yeah.
the
Answer
angel
to prayers
did
are-
for Peter.
yeah.
I think about Acts 12. It writes the church
Yeah.
made prayer for Peter. Now I'm encouraged.
Yeah, and the I when we were doing a public consultation to get our zoning permission, some a lady from a church came up to us and she said, "Well, I know God answers prayer, but why do you have to brag about it?" That
Yeah.
was her,
Yeah.
and I was like, I didn't say anything. I just smiled, but I'm like, there's about 200 scriptures just in Psalms alone that talk about the importance of proclaiming the deeds of the Lord.
Well, to me, it isn't even close to bragging about me.
No,
And I actually, and I know this is true for you as well, Doc. There are 10 answers to prayer yesterday.
Yes. Yes.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
And not one of them would Robbie be the hero of the story.
yeah, yeah,
The hero of the story, hopefully in anybody's
Yeah.
testimony, is God. And God shows up and he did this. And honestly, I didn't have the faith when I prayed the prayer to believe that
Yeah.
it was going to happen.
yeah.
And so when it happened, it'd be like you knock on the door for Peter, like
Yeah.
it's a ghost.
There's no way Peter's there.
But we have been going through the Bible and highlighting every story of answered prayer in the Bible,
Mm.
and it's a really interesting study
Yeah.
because God doesn't say yes most of the time, and if you look at when Jesus's responses are often a rebuke. I mean, now I would still count that as an answered prayer if I'm
Yes.
praying to Him. And I remember praying to Him and going, Lord, why do people treat me like this and this and this? And I'm having a bit of a moan, and then I just felt the Holy Spirit say, "You do that to me too."
Mm.
And then it's like, there was a little gentle rebuke. Now, for me, that's still God answering
Of course.
because what we want to show is not just this supermarket God who answers exactly how we expect. What we're showing is these prayers point to one thing: you need a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah,
So-
again, for those have not been there, it's the eternal wall of answered prayer. And so your website is just that, right?
Eternalwall.org.uk.
eternalwall.org.uk. Again, get your
'Cause
prayers up
this
there.
is in England,
Right.
Birmingham.
Right. He's
outside of
been there.
London.
Doc's been there. He's seen it.
Yes.
And somehow or another, while he was there, when he had time,
Well, what?
Well, I need a commitment from you, Robbie, to
Yeah.
Oh,
to
hey,
just be on
hey,
his case
Well,
now.
one of the answers to prayer that I will put on there is the day this opens up, because I picked up a rock and brought the rock back to America. I put it's in my bathroom. So when I'm shaving, I see the rock, and that's my reminder. I pray, Lord, get Richard the money he needs, the people he needs, and that this becomes that testimony. It's not a monument, really.
No.
It's a living testimony, because people need to know our God didn't just work in the first century.
right?
Yeah.
He's working right now.
He is. He is. Thank you, Richard. You
You're very welcome.
amaze me. God bless you. And thank you, Doc, for your help. And I'm on
Thank you
his
for
case.
those stories.
Oh, and we're going to send more. I'm loaded for bear. Thanks to God. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. I just keep streaming. Go ahead and I'll bring the next one in, and it's just the way we do it. So I don't lose my thank you. You amaze me. And thanks, Doc. I appreciate the help.
3 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what all's going on with that, but it will.
I've seen a bunch of our guys from Israel.
So it looks like we have Tim. Joni, is it Tim Barker? All right, Tim. Nice to meet you. Have a seat. We're streaming kind of as we go. It's good to see you, Joni. And thank you for your help as always. Yeah, you've saved my life on so many occasions. Oh, good. All right. Boom. World-renowned demolition expert. Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, we've talked before, but I just never have met you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So if you're watching this now live, you're seeing Richard firsthand. Tim firsthand. I just got done with Richard. And you might remember our discussion, or if not, Tim is a demolitions. You know, he has had the demolitions company and all that stuff, and now he's got this amazing book and a little bit different opportunity. So share for those people who didn't hear our interview before.
Sure. Yeah. I'm as my wife says, I'm a home wrecker. You know, I call myself the industrial janitor. If you want something to go away, not somebody, you call somebody else, but if you want something to go away, whether it's a stadium, a high rise, a massive power plant, I'm the person they call in to make sure that that's done right so nobody dies. And so literally I'm helping Fortune 500 companies make life and death decisions. And God has blessed me with an exceptional track record over 20 years. And what I found is the resources that we're using to mitigate risk on the job can be used to mitigate first, second, third marriages, business failures, relationship failures, faith failures, which in my book, unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. I've failed in every single area of my life, it seems like, but there are some principles out there, some tools that people can use to not only recover, but to excel and succeed. So that's what it's about.
Isn't that a beautiful thing, though, that, you know, if I had succeeded in so many different things that I failed miserably in, you know, God never would have been the hero of the story, right?
Amen. I am, people ask me what my bio is, and I work for one of the largest design engineering firms in the world. They're Fortune 200. I was a director level, and typically they were just trying to size you down. And I would just say I'm a dyslexic dropout surfer from Southern California. If you need a CPE, PhD, I got plenty on my team. But my boss used to hate when I said that. But it's to God be the glory. God will use humble, broken people that are least likely to succeed to do his work. And so I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, and how they got broken is they stepped out and tried stuff.
They tried stuff. Made a lot of mistakes, a lot of self-inflicted mistakes, a lot of things that have happened to me that has happened to everybody, where we live in a fallen world, right? So we know that we're going to face trials of many kinds. So the question is, what resources do we have? What tools do we have to not only make it through those, but to recover? And then once we do, how can we bring others along, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you're the richest person in the world or the poorest, they both have one thing in common. We're not going to find meaning and purpose until we help others. And I found that for me personally when I was in my lowest pits, that if I wanted to make it the next day, I just had to find somebody that was worse off than me and help them. And there's no shortage of that. But when I was incredibly successful, the same thing. You have that hole because God's made us that way to help others. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to find joy. You're not going to find purpose and meaning.
So I'll never forget the day I was reading Pilgrim's Progress, and all of a sudden it hit me about the Valley of Humiliation. And like, I'd never thought about it, but all the soil that washes off the mountain comes down into that valley, and there it has a chance to do stuff. And so if we took you back into that valley for a minute, I know it's painful. I've spent my time down there,
Yes.
believe me. And I'm very curious, like, I mean, I know before from the previous interview, you lost your marriage. I can't even, you know, that of all the things you can lose, your family, like, man, that
People
you've really,
dying, my business.
right.
Yes, it's
what
awful.
good? What good is a business actually if you don't even have anybody to share it with, right? Or
Amen.
what good is all this other, like, if you're not? And so here you are. What was the spark, or was it scripture, or was it something somebody said that began the like aha moment for you?
Yeah. So there was two huge valleys. And the first one I was okay with, because at the root cause of that first valley was the guy staring at me in the mirror every morning. I knew that they were in life's that way. Sin has a prepackaged gift called consequences, and we don't get to pick what those consequences are. So that first valley of where I lost my first wife, my settled down to buy a business that fell apart, was completely betrayed. At the end of the day, I knew that a lot of that, and I professionally developed root cause analysis now, but then informally, I knew I was at the root cause. That was my come to Jesus moment, where I realized, hey, God, I told you that, I told people that you're number one, did the church thing. My heart was far from God. I mean, I knew it, I was looking at things, involved in things, rough and tough industry that I shouldn't have been involved. My heart, it was a fake. I was total fake. So at that point, I said, okay, God, I'm going to take you seriously. We're going to do it your way. We did it my way. It didn't work out too well. We're going to do it your way. So for the next 10, 15 years, God restored the years Locust ate. My wife remarried, 26 years, 3 more kids, the business. Life was great. And then the second big valley was after a prayer that I prayed. And I caution people, do not pray this prayer unless you really want God to answer, because he's going to answer it. And it was God. And it was after we got involved in helping other people out, writing checks. The business was back on its feet. Loved it. I said, I want to do more of this. Just helping others is so exciting. Do whatever you need to do to me so we can make a greater purpose or a greater impact. And I tell you, that next valley, it was the hardest one of my life, because it was, you know, we went into lawsuits. People weren't paying us. Had to sell our company, or actually gave it away on a garage sale, lost the 401k, had to move out of our house. And I go, God, what are you doing here? And what he was doing was answering that prayer, was chipping off some rough edges. Still had a lot of pride. And once he got me to the point where he could use me, at that point, birthed a ministry that we've now impacted millions of people in ways that matter forever. He answered that prayer. And then he restored all the years. So he answered it in a way that I wouldn't wish on an enemy, but he answered the prayer. But what made it so hard was that second big valley wasn't consequences of my stupid mistakes. It was stuff outside of my control. But that's, like you said, that valley of humility. You know how you get humble? By being humiliated. So I got humiliated, and I needed it. And so that I knew every day I woke up, it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with God. And I had to seek his direction, his purpose. It was self-made man, that entrepreneur, throw that stuff in the garbage. And so from that moment on, it was, God, I got to depend upon you. And that's where I'm at right now in my life. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'm excited to be here at the NRB convention.
Yeah, so, and which is a huge investment in and of itself, in time, money, all these things. And so I'm very curious. Like, here's a man that clearly understands a lot about business and stuff. What are you hoping happens here?
Well, yeah, and you said a lot of money. So I'm a consultant, highly paid consultant, right? So I trade hours for dollars. So for me to walk away from potentially income opportunities for a week to be here was a big step. Yeah. And then the cost of being here. And so I said, God, I really felt like you wanted me to write this book. I'm not going to pay for patience because I know I need it. But it was only 2 months since it's been published. I said, you got to show me that I really needed to write, that there really was you behind this. And somebody that read it, and basically, long story short, they said, hey, I want to sponsor you to be here this week because I think other people need to hear this story, because people need to be encouraged. People need to find purpose. And I'm so moved by what your book shared with me that I'm committing $100,000 this year to give to ministries. And I want the first part of that to go to what you're doing. And so that's why I'm here this week.
What do you think in your book caused that to happen in him?
Well, as he read it, he was challenged. He is a successful business person. And I think that he just, again, I think it's the same thing that we all come to the same conclusion is that if we really want to find joy, we really want to find meaning, we need to be helping others. And the ministry that we started, ROI Ministry, is, and we don't ask for money, by the way. We don't even collect checks. All we do is find the top 10 most effective organizations in the world, whether it's sharing Jesus, discipleship, clean water, food, shelter, and we promote them. We update it every year. And he just said, he says, that's where I'm going to find my purpose in helping others. So rather than maybe help 2 or 3 people or 20 people through our top 10, him knowing that we're not getting 1 penny, that we're investing our time and money in it to provide that free gift to him, that he's going to be able to, at the end of this year, with $100,000, know that he's going to impact the lives of 200, 300,000 people in ways that are going to matter for all of eternity. And that's why he did it, and that's why we exist. And that's why I wrote the book.
So the idea here, and I hope you've been listening, is this book. It's called Boom, right? And there's a subtitle I can't read because it's a little small there. But
what to do when life blows up around you. So,
and I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but I can assure you that based on my own personal experience, that boom opens up a door that no other thing. I mean, just like what we've described. And so, the book's by Tim Barker, and by all means, I think that's a wonderful investment to get word to you or to somebody that maybe somebody that's had a boom, and maybe it was within their struggles that was their sin, or maybe it was something totally out of their control. Like I got a dear friend who has got pancreatic cancer. I don't know much, but it's a boom.
Yes.
It's a boom for his wife. It's a boom for his family. And so at those points in time, he does not waste pain, does he?
No.
And he's doing something like absolutely fantastic that we can't see behind the scenes. And anything like this book, Boom, that would help us to see that clearly Romans 8:28 couldn't be more true. It's the opportunity, right?
Most definitely. We unbeknownst to my wife and I, we were in a Bible study with a couple, and after a couple months, we realized they were the parents of Laken Riley, who was killed by an illegal alien from Venezuela that had tried to rape her and then smashed her head to pieces with a stone. And in that situation, somebody in our group went to Romans 8:28. I said, "Well, let's time. There's a time and place. There's a time and place for everything." I love that verse. But some people, and as I was reading Job this morning in my quiet time, some people will not get to see on this side of eternity why they had to go through what they went through. But we know Job on the other side. We all take comfort in his story because we can all relate to it, that we might not get the answers. But if we continue to, as Job, and I think it was in chapter 14, as I read it, my Redeemer, thinking about the beautiful worship last night with
Right.
That was at the end of the evening with Mullins and her song. I was just choked up. I was in tears because I think some of the greatest things that will occur as a result of our lives is if we trust and give them to God, even though we don't get the answers in this life.
Yeah, he loves that, right? Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you for sharing your time with us here with the Truth Network. We're honored to have had you a couple times. God bless.
Thank you, Robbie.
Keep up
I
the
really
great work.
appreciate it. God bless you.
The
Thank
book,
you, sir.
again, it's Boom. You can't miss that one. Thanks. All right. Thank you. God bless you. Keep up the great work. All right.
I have a 2 o'clock with the Grace to You folks.
Right.
Here's the schedule. They're going to handle it for the rest of you.
Who's the?
Bonita.
Okay. All right. Hi. Hello. It's Autumn.
Yes.
Hello, Autumn.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And so we're kind of just streaming, and so we're still filming all that stuff. So, Autumn, tell me about what brings you to the NRB.
Well, I just released a book called Holy Ghosted.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I love the title. It makes me think of a lot of things. Holy Ghosted.
Holy Ghosted. So, in today's day and age, when someone ghosts you,
right,
they don't reply. And so I just wrote an entire book about that, silence from God. And I wrote it chronicling the life of Job and how God didn't speak to Job for 38 chapters. And so
he had some pretty serious questions, like, man, that a whole lot had gone on, right?
He did. He had a bunch of questions and comments and assumptions about God. And so I'm here talking to all sorts of people about the book and bringing awareness to it.
Which I'm sure the Holy Ghost must have had something to do with that title because it's so brilliant. Holy Ghost. I love it. Yeah. So, clearly it's based on Job, but usually I find that people author a book that they themselves are often the story behind the book. Is this something you've experienced yourself?
Absolutely. I've been married for 22 years to the love of my life, but before I met him, I was married for 3 years to not the love of my life. And during that season, I grew up in a Christian home. Dad was the pastor, PK, whole 9 yards, and married this young man and really kind of forsook the Lord. And during that time where I knew a lot about God, but I found out during that marriage I didn't know God. And it's amazing what happens when you kind of get to the bottom of the bottom and you start looking up and you start saying, okay, God, I know I forsook you, but where are you at? Are you going to help me? My first husband was an abusive man. And I was, where are you? What is going on? And I didn't seem to have any answer from the Lord. And so there was a season of silence that I went through. And out throughout my Christian life, I actually got saved in that marriage and really heard the voice of God. But throughout my Christian life, I've realized there are seasons that we walk through where we're asking for direction and heaven just seems quiet. And so I wanted to give a resource to people about what do you do during those silent seasons? Like a lot of people forsake God in our today's day and age. They run away from God in relief, but I want to tell them, no, God is the answer to God's silence. And so that's what the book is about.
Wow. How cool. That is just brilliant. I'm just thinking that it's absolutely amazing. And the good news about it, if you've been Holy Ghosted, and I certainly have been,
Yes.
is you had an expectation. Because the only way you could be Holy Ghosted is if you were expecting to hear and you didn't hear, right? And so that in of itself to me is somewhat of that the people that would relate to that already have something going for them. They had an expectation, right? And then, so I'm sure everybody listening is like, so what do you do? I'm sure there's just a simple no. I'm guessing there's a whole book that is not, like stick in the key and turn it and all the engine's going to come on and away we go.
Well, I think that's why I wrote the book, to give a resource as what do you do?
Right.
What do you do? What did Job do whenever he was asking God to intervene in his situation? He was asking for God to speak to him and there was nothing. And a couple of points that I bring out in the book is number one, when God is silent, be aware because Satan wants to fill the void. Satan wants to pastor us, okay? And he tries to pastor us and he tries to disciple us in his evil way when God is silent. And he tells us things like, where is God? He used Job's friends, 3 of Job's friends, to try to convince Job that there was sin in Job's life. And we know that there wasn't unconfessed sin in Job's life because God says he's the most righteous man in all the East in Job 1. So watch who you listen to in those seasons of silence. And a couple of other things that I bring out in the book is when God is silent, what can you stand on to persevere? Number one, his character. I think we forget that just because we feel a certain kind of way about God being silent doesn't change his character. He is faithful. He will speak. He is good. He does love us unconditionally. So unconditionally, he gave his son for us on the cross. How we feel doesn't change his character. So during those seasons of silence, stand on his character. And another thing that I bring out is the promises of God. Sometimes you have to look back to see that God was faithful in other things, which means he's still going to be faithful during this season of silence. He will speak. He will bring clarity. He will answer you in whatever way that he sees fit. But we've got to stand on his character and we've got to stand on his word. That's why the Israelites put memory stones in the Jordan, right? So they could go back and they could remember what God had done in times where they questioned, God, what are you doing? And so we've got to do the same thing when we're walking through a season of silence.
Yeah, I absolutely. I loved, and I think most people ever read it, Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah,
that
I love that book.
that the main character, Christian, he kept his testimony close to his bosom. In other words, and he needed to pull it out every once in a while, right? To see, and you might remember he lost it on the Hill of Difficulty, and it was a little big shenanigan. But nonetheless, I've never forgotten that moment, like where he pulled it out when he really needed it. And so I was just so blessed that I get to do what I do. I was just interviewing Richard Gamble with the eternal wall. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Are you?
No, I'm not.
There's a wall that they're building in the sign of infinity. It's like 50 meters high that has is going to have 1 million answers to prayer.
Whoa.
Okay,
I
so
love it.
and each brick has got a story, and people are, in fact, he wants you to right now to go eternal wall, and go put your answered prayer in there. And so what you have is again, your Ebenezer stone, all like to encourage people across the world, like in this gigantic answer to prayer monument that they're building, not unlike what you just described. And so when you think about the opportunity we all have to write this out, even at the eternal wall, whether you put it on Ancestry or your testimony, whatever it may be, it's a gigantic resource, not just for you, but for all those who know you and love you. Wouldn't you love to know the time, like God came for your son? Wouldn't you love to see his testimony? Wouldn't you love to know those things? And so when you write them out, you don't know all the people that you're blessing.
Yeah.
And I love that is one of the things you can do when you've been Holy Ghosted. Like that title just shows, and I got to know, just inquiring minds, your dad, is he still with us?
Yes, he is. He is.
And so like he had to take this book and go, look at this, man, God, you are awesome. Like
it's so funny because my dad is a Bible scholar and he has always intimidated me because I sat listening to him my whole life and I saw him exegete the scriptures and I always thought I'll never be able to do it the way he does it. And so he actually asked for the book way before it was time to release the book. Now I want to read the book. This is my 4th book and he's read all of them and he sits down and reads them all in one day. He's like, I don't want to break. I want to sit down and read them all in one day. So he asked for the book and I was like, no, I don't want you to read this one. Finally, I got up the courage to let my dad read the book. He called me. He's the first one that read it. I didn't even let my husband read it first. I let my dad read it first. And he called me and he said, this is the best book you've ever read. I've never heard a perspective like this on the book of Job. And so he was proud of me. Thank God I passed the dad test.
Well, it's neat. He wasn't just proud of you. He was proud of God, right?
Yeah.
That he saw, and I'm sure he would, like, this title is so engaging.
Mm-hmm.
It is just brilliant. And then obviously taking the character of Job and a story that is easily relatable to all of us.
Yeah.
And digging into that to give people answers of something that they clearly struggle. I think it's off the hook cool. And I as a pastor, I can imagine my own kids, like if they had done something, like how amazing, right? Because there's no greater joy than to know your children are walking with the Lord. And it's just, it really, really is a beautiful thing that you've had a chance to do this. And so your husband now, right? Is he here with you?
Yeah. No, he's not here. He's not here. He let me go. We have 4 kids. And so one's in college, but he's back with the other 3. So no, he's not, but he's also a pastor.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
so your second husband, you married a pastor.
Yes, I did.
Was he a pastor when you married him?
He was in school to become a pastor when I married him. And now he is a pastor, been a pastor for a long time. So he is actually going slowly through the book. And last night he called me and he said, I finished chapter number 9 and he loves it.
And so what that means is not only were you a pastor's kid, but that means you're a pastor's wife.
Yes.
And so
yes, I am.
You're his secret weapon, I can assure you, because I know that as a pastor's wife, there's certain things that you bear the burden of that is in itself a very unique calling, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. We've been through a lot. And I think we can relate a lot to the story of Job. Sometimes pastors don't look like what they go through. You know what I mean? And it's that faith that we continually exercise that gets us through, when we really can't share or, whatever it is that we're going through with the difficulties in the church, or it's that faith that sustains us, just like Job.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it was so clear that in spite of the fact that he was totally befuddled, totally overwhelmed, totally all sorts of things that nobody could imagine possibly having lost everything like he lost his family and all that stuff, and then his own health, and still holding on to his integrity, which he did
Yeah.
in spite of the fact that you can see the agony
Yeah.
that was there, and wow, right?
Mhm.
That God knew.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, in the middle of the book, Job continues to assert his faith in God. For I know that my Redeemer lives. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. These are truths that didn't just happen. They didn't just happen when all the trials struck. They had happened years earlier. Him watching God's faithfulness with his children, watching God's faithfulness with his businesses, watching his businesses grow and flourish. He had seen God come through. So when tragedy struck him, he was able to say, how many of us can truly sit and say, after we've lost all 10 of our children, everything that we own, though he slay me, yet will I trust him.
And he said that in spite of the fact that he didn't actually arguably know God.
Yeah.
Because when he first sees him and it comes on the scene, he goes like, "Man, I've heard about you and I've read about
you.
But now I'm seeing like it was clear that was one of the major goals of the whole thing was an actual relationship between Job and God that would be more intimate and all those kind of things. And so to have that kind of integrity and faith in whatever, wherever you are in your walk, right? God's still God. It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
I hate we're out of time. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Holy Ghosted. I love it.
I love it. Thank you. It's fun. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
I
God
really
bless.
appreciate it.
So nice to have you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Oh, thank you. Do you guys... Do you know who... Hey, guys. Is there somebody else waiting?
I don't see him. JP, something. Oh, there. That's it. Right there. Be ready for you.
I'm doing good, JP.
See you again.
Have a seat. Good to see you,
Yes,
sir.
okay, should I see?
Yeah. We kind of just streaming, and so yeah, nobody can sit there. They'd be in the screen. Actually, if you could scoot a little bit this way,
Yeah.
you'd be better in the camera.
Absolutely.
We want them to see the whole JP.
There we
don't
go.
Just get the
You
whole-
know, got a face for radio, though.
This isn't radio. This is
I know, I'm
it's
just teasing.
radio. It's just fun. It's all the above, but it's so good to have you.
Good.
And so, what brings you back to the NRP, JP?
You know, just God is opening so many doors for us, Robbie. The last year for our ministry we grew the number of churches that we're working with by 89%.
89%.
89%. We ended up signing new statewide partnerships with the Texas Baptists, where the entire convention has sponsored at the statewide level, sponsored us to be able to support all of the 5,300 churches as part of that network. So God is doing a big thing, and I'm constantly reminded of 1 Corinthians 3:7 that neither the one who plants nor the one who waters matters, but it's God who provides the growth. And those who may not remember or know that this ministry that I founded and lead, we exist to support the local church, Robbie, to equip it to share the gospel through the renewal of healthy relationships, marriage, and the family.
Right. It is called Communio.
That's right. COMMUNIO. .org is the website. But yes, that is, and it developed out of a big pilot that successfully lowered the divorce rate across all of Jacksonville, Florida by 24%.
Right.
From 2016 to 2018. It was before we showed up there. It was ranked the 6th worst city in America for marriage by Men's Health magazine. The Huffington Post wrote an article that said that these are the 10 cities where marriages go to die, and Jacksonville is one of them. And by the time we were done there, Jacksonville had the lowest divorce rate of all large counties in Florida, and for the first time since no-fault divorce, had a divorce rate below the state average. And so we knew there was something there. I had a great partner there. I wanted to mentioned Richard Albertson and Live the Life Ministries was a huge, vital piece of this effort. Boots on the ground, and we continue to work with Richard in his work as we've scaled to now having a presence in 32 states.
Yeah, and so what's beautiful about it is you do it through the local churches, right?
That's right. That's
and,
right.
And so, wait a minute. The churches themselves, this isn't some gigantic advertising campaign. They didn't put up a bunch of billboards and all of a sudden lowered the divorce rate.
No, that's exactly right. It's hard. In a certain sense, the easy thing is to go to a group of funders and convince them to provide a bunch of money to run some sort of larger campaign, but those don't stick. Okay, they don't stick. When you come alongside, we say to one of the messages to our staff and to our pastors is we want to take a John the Baptist approach. We want to decrease, and we want the local church to increase. Okay, and so we support pastors, helping them effectively evangelize in this moment, right? Really, the big crisis right now is what is the human person, the destruction of sex as male and female, and what we're doing is coming alongside the church to equip them to help people reorient that, have healthy relationships, orient themselves well to a Christian marriage. And when you do that, you guess what happens? What happens is young people experience the love of an earthly father in the home. And when people do that, it's easier for them to accept the love of the Heavenly Father.
It was set up that way. Right?
It was set up as the original small group, Robbie. Yeah, no doubt about it. That this is almost the entire rise of religious non-affiliation of the last 40 years can be explained by the collapse of the family over the last 60 years. It took some time, but as marriage became decoupled from sex, marriage became decoupled then from parenting and partnering. And as non-marital homes grew in number, the fruit of that societal shift starts to show up in religious non-affiliation data in the late 80s, early 90s. It's about 25 years after this growth. And we see this in our churches right now. 80% of everybody sitting in church on Sunday grew up in a home where mom and dad stayed married through childhood, regardless of age. Whether you're a Gen Alpha or the youngest boomer or the oldest Gen Xer, this is a trend that moves across generations. And so our message to pastors is it shouldn't surprise us as Christians. Marriage is that great covenantal sign of salvation. So if we renew that, we will renew the church and we'll renew the world.
Yeah, I don't. Were you happen to be at the Salem breakfast this morning?
I was not able to get there. I flew in early this morning.
Okay, well, David Jeremiah was speaking for in sort of a candid interview with the chairman of Salem for about an hour, and he didn't say it once. I think he said it 3 times. He made reference to maybe the most poignant was the last question they asked him. I said, David, what do you want to be remembered as? And he said, these are his words. I want to be remembered as a partner. That to my wife, first, that's the very first thing. I don't want to be remembered as a dad.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, amen.
This is
yes.
a man, he's 84 years old and certainly had a ministry oh my gosh, fruitful. But it first was not his church or his radio ministry or anything else like that.
So powerful. No, and that at the end of our life, when we look back, the things that we
right.
will be most transformative. There's nothing more important than obviously our walk with the Lord, and that walk is with someone. Typically, God has called us.
Yeah, I left God. I'm sorry, that was really poor. He said, "I want to remember."
Yes. I knew it was implied. I knew.
No, and then he said, "Then a partner." But that was getting back to the issue that
that's it.
Clearly his ministry or all of our ministries is first and foremost to God, and then comes our families. And
yes.
and I loved. I really did. That. It just struck me how powerful it was that he didn't say my family. What he said was my wife.
Yes.
And then my kids.
Yeah,
right?
and that's such a beautiful way to articulate, because today the zeitgeist, the culture around us has, if we embrace family, then we embrace it through the child-centered home rather than the marriage-centered home. If we want our kids to be happy and healthy, they actually do better in a marriage-centered home rather than the child-centered home. Because when a child sees the sacrificial love of husband for wife and wife for husband, they feel safe. They see love well modeled biblically, and they can grow and model that themselves. Okay. And that oftentimes means sometimes there has to be sacrifice because
Right.
son or daughter isn't the most important. We love sports. I love sports a lot. I thought I was going to be a sports writer, Robbie, but got other plans. But we don't let our kids do year-round sports. We do sports in seasons, and then we take some time off because this is not a child-centered home. This is a marriage-centered home.
That's beautiful. And so somebody listening in their church and they say, man, well, we need this. This is what we want. How do they, do you guys just come to one city and then you're done? Or how
It's a great question. So there's a couple ways. One, the individual pastor can contact us and literally hire us, kind of like the A-Team, if you're lucky enough to find us, the old 80s reference. But then the other way to do it is if you're part of a church where you belong to a particular denomination, okay, your regional church network that your church might belong to, even if it's something like ARC, which is a network of non-denominational churches, okay, your regional church network oftentimes will sign a partnership with us, making it really affordable for us to be able to support that individual church. And the simple way of saying is, imagine a great campaign manager helping someone run for Senate. What that person would do, that campaign consultant would help you figure out everything that you need to order yourself to win, including help you figure out your staffing and all that. We look like that, but helping the local church win on marriage and the family instead of winning an election. So we come alongside the lead pastor, executive pastor, or whoever the lead pastor designates as a volunteer or elder, and we coach them through something we call the Data-Informed Full Circle Relationship Ministry. It's our application of what we learned in Jacksonville, okay? And data to understand what's happening in the individual church, and then data to reach people you couldn't otherwise reach. Full Circle is a full church approach. Youth, young adult, the married, the dating, those thriving and those struggling, and building a game plan for all that. Last year, Robbie, more than 82,600 people came to our church partners in real life for real ministry, okay? And those churches grew on average by 24% over 12 to 23 months in terms of Sunday attendance. The couples who participated in the ministry, who said that they were struggling, those married people who said they were struggling, afterwards, 74% said they were thriving in their marriage, okay? And even for singles, those singles at the start of it, 57% of them afterwards said that they felt confident that they have the knowledge and skills to form a healthy to form a healthy marriage. So, there's real fruitfulness. Praise God, where God is providing a lot of growth here.
And so, does that mean the senior pastor or whoever they begin essentially a series that they're preaching on?
Yeah, if we do our job right, nobody in the church outside the leadership team knows that we're working with the church, right? We're a behind the scenes, support. We're truly a parachurch in the best sense of the word. Okay, we serve the church. Nobody in the church needs to know we're there. Okay, and so this affects vision, meaning helping the pastor flesh out his vision around Christian marriage and relationships, and help it move through the whole church, preaching, teaching. It impacts skills, which is learning the skills, spiritual, human skills to have a great, healthy, to form healthy relationships. There's an entire academic field in this area that we bring to the church. And then the third area is community, which is building the virtuous community where the vision and the skills are lived out so that new marriages form and all the marriages there can thrive. We want to make it normal in the local church. Everybody invests in the spiritual and human growth of the health in their relationships. We say nobody would go, if I asked you, I say, Robbie, there's this great spiritual retreat coming up. You should consider it. Even if you can't go, you would probably not say, JP, listen, I'm about as holy as I could possibly be. I don't need any of that. But my buddy Doug over there, you should work on him. He's, really struggling. We wouldn't say that in the spiritual life, but we do it in the married life. So the idea is we want to make it normal that everyone, you might have a great marriage. You want to keep investing in your marriage. It's the same way. If your car's running great, you don't say, no, I'm going to wait for the smoke to come out of the hood before I change the fluids. No, you change the fluids and service it so that the smoke never comes out, right? So similarly, we help churches think through both the messaging and the structure of the ministry. So you provide real value to your people and to the community. And when you do that, you build trust with people who don't yet know the local church. When you build trust, you create pathways where people will hear the gospel proclaimed and come to an encounter with a real relationship with the God-man, Jesus Christ. That's what we want to see.
Right. Again, the organization is Communio, which is COMMUNIO, and I'm guessing it's communio.org.
That's right. That's right, Robbie.
And so, maybe you can, if you in a church near the law, you better talk to your pastor. He's going to have to be involved.
Yeah. And I'll say, we also create, if you have a moment, a lot of free resources that churches can use. Research backed. Some item that we created that Fox News covered very recently was we had a research partnership with a group of really good scholars actually at Harvard. There are a few left, and trying to understand how faith is transmitted from parent to child effectively, so that a child grows up to choose to follow Jesus. Right? What are the ingredients? We know big sociological factors like get married, stay married, have your kids in marriage, go to church regularly. Those are big, social wide things. But what if we're checking those boxes? What more? And so this studies, the pastor's guide goes into it. There's one simple thing. If a parent has regular open conversations that encourage a child's Christian faith, they're dramatically more likely to choose to follow Jesus when they get older. At orders of magnitude that stunned researchers, right? If you have these conversations daily, you're almost 8 times higher odds to have these same conversations with your own kids when you are an adult. And they're easy to do. And so that's an example of a resource. Someone who's listening can download it and just use it right now and get some
Communio.org. Thank you, JP. Great to
you,
have
Robbie.
you back. God bless.
Yeah, thank you. God bless you.
Work. Thank you. All right. And now we got Ginger. Hello, Ginger. Good to meet you. We will get you mic'd up here, and we'll get to meet Ginger.
Pardon me?
We will get to meet you. I don't think I interviewed you before?
I don't think so.
Okay. So here we go.
Here
Thank
we
you.
go. Good.
Abundance Books. I
Yes.
like that. Abundance.
And I have a card for you.
Wonderful.
This
So,
is the newest book,
don't worry about it.
and this is me.
And this is Ginger. So we're streaming live. We've up all the time. So here you
Okay.
go. We'll
Great.
just take off. And so don't worry about it. Reflections on living abundantly, right? And then there's the backside. Is God really orchestrating your life? And so usually there's a story behind a book.
There is a story. This book isn't one that I just wrote. I've actually lived this book.
I bet.
And my husband and I were chaplains with the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team, and we saw things only God could have orchestrated. But as we look back on our lives, we see where God orchestrated our life himself. And the book is based on my favorite scripture is John 10:10, where he says, I come to give you life, abundant life. And then he puts a big comma there. And most of us as Christians, we accept Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, and then we stop right there. But that comma is not a hammock, and we like to sit in the hammock. But he says, move beyond, because I have abundant life for you. And what does that mean? Does that mean prosperity? Wealth? And there's nothing wrong with wealth. God blesses people. but he means abundant life by serving him. Because if you go out and serve in his name and be the hands and feet of Jesus, my goodness, you are the one that gets blessed. Have you ever gone to the hospital to visit somebody and spend the afternoon with someone to be an encouragement to them, and you come out and you're the one that's blessed? That's what the abundant life is all about. And this starts from my early age when my mom passed away when I was 18 years old. And as I've looked back and reflected, I've seen how God orchestrated everything in my life, even though I had no idea that he was preparing me to go out and serve in his name on the mission field and on the response team. We deployed with the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team to hurricanes and tornadoes and natural disasters, but we also deployed to man-made, such as Sandy Hook shooting. I attended several children's funerals and also the Aurora Theater shootings, but God was already there. He was there. Nothing surprises him. And he was already there. And we could be with those people in the name of Jesus, listening or just standing beside them.
Right. So clearly, as you had a chance to serve those people in the difficult situations, very difficult situations,
Yes.
the case of Sandy Hook and that kind of thing, you got to see that how you were blessed abundantly. Yet the title says, "Don't worry about it."
That's right. When we worry about things, he can't be in control because we want to do it ourselves. Because we think we can handle it. Why bother God with it? But when you learn to pray for the little things, he takes care of the little things and the big things. But if you pray for the little things, you're preparing for him to take care of the big things too. So don't worry about it means that became a motto in my house for me and my husband. We were being transferred to another state. My husband was in law enforcement for 32 years, and we were being transferred to another state. And we had put a down payment or a deposit for a house, and we had not sold our other house. And we prayed about it, and then he said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "God has got this. If he wants us to move, he will handle it." And before we could even arrive at the next place, we got word that we had gotten an offer which was full asking price on the other house. After that time, "Don't worry about it" became a motto for our home. When anything came up, whether it was sickness, cancer, death, we just sort of relied on God. And did it happen overnight? Absolutely not. It's something you have to get up and do every day and say, "God, today's your day. However it turns out, whatever it happens, help us to not worry about it and let you be in control." And God has done that. Oh, I'm sure he looks down and chuckles at me every now and then and says, "No, wait a minute. Don't go that way." You know.
And so Abundant Books sounds like there's more than one book.
Well, Abundance Books is the publisher of my book. And I had no idea that that was their verse also. That was God again. And so I did not realize, I knew their name was Abundance Books, but I did not know that their verse for their company was John 10:10. So it all just worked together. That was just a God thing.
So naturally, when you saw, oh, wait a minute, this is Abundance Books, and when it says Reflections on Life Abundantly, and so did you found the publisher after you wrote the book?
No, actually, I had started writing the book. The publisher found me. And then one day we were talking on the phone. And then the very day after that, I went out and I was looking at this church. It was a false church in a little community that I live. And I was walking around in this area. And they had across the steeple, Abundance Chapel. And I thought, what? So I took the picture of it and I sent it to the publisher. And I said, "I think somebody's trying to tell me something here." So the publisher said, "We would like to do your book. Let's think of a name for it." And I said, "Well, I don't worry about it has been my motto." And she says, "Well, what about reflecting an abundant life?" And I said, "That's what it is, because God gave me this life." And I said, "It's reflection of him. This is not my life. I've lived it, but it's one that he prepared me for." So
What a beautiful
it's
thing.
just
And so the publisher found you.
Yes, they did. They actually did. I was at a retreat in Florida at Lake Yale Baptist Camp, and the publisher was there from Michigan and Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they came up and started talking to me, and things just unfolded. So, yes,
Wow. Yeah. Grand Rapids is a home for a lot of publishing, right?
it
This
is. And I had never been to Michigan. I'm an old Southern girl, and I had never been north that far. So I got to go to Michigan, and yes, God is just, He just sort of likes to hear our stories because He smiles because He was a part of everyone. Sometimes I feel like I was hanging on to the back of a ski boat and just seeing where God would take me. And sometimes the waves got rough. I'm not going to say it's always been easy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So a lot of may not realize that our daily bread, it comes out of Grand Rapids, and that all those ministries out of Grand Rapids. I've had a chance to be connected with them. Those of you who listen to Encouraging Prayer with James Banks may know that he writes for the publishing of this, our daily bread, as well as I'm trying to think of the name of their publishing.
I did not know that was in Grand Rapids.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Wow.
And the radio show that used to be daily, I'm trying to think of what it was before. Anyway, it's all connected to
That
Grand
is
Rapids.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a very, very kind of a spiritual center there in Michigan, which is really cool. And I just see the connections that are amazing. Ginger, as you had this opportunity, especially since you lived that life of being a chaplain for those years, and then you came up, and it says in these pages you're going to discover real life miracles. And so you had mentioned that when you first sat down, that while you were there in ministry, and just to give the listeners a taste of those real life miracles, what was one that you saw that you're like, oh my gosh?
Well, I'll be honest, we were not even on the mission field when this one happened. My
Okay.
niece and I were in a car, and she was about 5 years old. And we were going down the road, and I had to pull over into the left lane to go around a garbage truck and a railroad truck, and there was no crossing gates, and the train came out of nowhere. And my car hit the train, the front of the train hit my car. And my niece, I shoved her down into the floor, and I hit the windshield. As the EMTs and the ambulance were all arriving, I looked over in my car at my niece, and there was a lady holding her, cuddling her. The lady had on a blue dress and little white flowers on it. Now, why I remember that, it was very distinct. I remember this lady, do not remember her face. I think she had graying hair. We loaded up, went by ambulance to the hospital. My niece had, I think, 11 stitches. And she was in the little room, emergency room next to me with a curtain in between us. And as my sister and brother-in-law came into the emergency room, the nurse was in there and patted my sister on the arm and said, "Congratulations." And my sister said, "Congratulations for what?" And she said, "Your daughter told me she's going to have a baby sister." And my sister says, "I'm not pregnant." And my sister just laughed. And my little niece said, "But the woman at the wreck told me," said she whispered in my ear, she said, "It's going to be okay. You're going to have a baby sister. You're going to be okay." That happened on May the 19th. February 20th, my sister gave birth to a baby girl. 9 months later, we had no idea. My sister and I went back about 3 months later after I had recovered from the wreck, and we looked at the police report to get this lady's name and information so we could go and give her a bouquet of flowers and thank her. There was nothing on the police report about a woman there. We went to the houses that had been along that street where the wreck occurred, thinking, well, maybe she lived in one of those houses along that street. No one there remembered seeing the lady. I saw her. She held my niece. But no one else saw the lady or remembered her or knew anything about her. That was God. God has a way of putting his angels around us to care for us, to protect us. But I mean, it was 9 months later, before ultrasound or anything. May 19th to February 20th. My sister gave birth that morning of February 20th to a baby girl.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this going, well, I just tell you, this is Robbie Dilmore talking. I have interviewed, I don't know how many people with similar experiences, especially in horrific car accidents, that there was somebody that showed up when
Yes.
nobody should have been showing up, like from nowhere,
That's
and
right.
something miraculous happened. And even if you listen and you're familiar with the Truth Network, you may know we have a personality on the Light Network by the name of Anita Dean. And she was visited by somebody in our radio station that had no way to get into the building, had no way to get out of the building, but yet was in the building and told her what her ministry would be before she was a Christian, that kind of predicted her life for the same kind of thing that I can tell you there's no doubt in my mind that what Ginger is explaining here, and this is just one of the stories inside of the book, Don't Worry About It by Ginger Saunders, Abundant Press. I love that.
Abundant. Yeah. There are 3 angel stories in there, and one was when my husband was in the hospital in Birmingham, Alabama. He was having cancer surgery, and I'm telling you, there were angels appeared because
I can tell you
it was unbelievable. I was on an elevator, and this man came in and got on the elevator, and the other man I had just left in the hallway had no way to connect with each other. And the man said to me, "Are you Mrs. Sanders?" And I said, "Yes." And he said to me, "I understand that I'm supposed to pray for you specifically." And I thought, "How do you know?" And he said, "I have a way." And then when I went down to eat in the cafeteria, a lady came and met me and said, "I'm supposed to eat with you today. I don't normally eat in hospital cafeterias," she said. She sat there and talked to me about my husband having surgery. She had no way of knowing what I was there for. And when I started to leave, she jumped up and hugged me. And then she said, "When you get to heaven, look for Sam." I never will forget it. I got my tray, turned around and put it on the little carrier thing. And I turned around to wave bye to her, and she was gone. I mean, there was no lady. She did not bring her tray. She just
there you
was
go.
gone.
It's real. Again, don't worry about it. Obviously, there's angels among us. It's
Right.
Reflections on Living Abundantly by Ginger Saunders. God bless you. Thank you so much
Thank you for allowing me to be here, Robbie.
That's wonderful.
Appreciate
God
it.
bless you.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right. Well, on with Ginger, and let's see who's next. It looks like we have a young man coming my way by the name of Kent. Kent Darris, it sounds like.
Darcy. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you. Have a seat. All right, so we just kind of keep streaming here.
Okay.
And so we're.
Oh, these are for you.
It looks like we have books.
Well, those are for you.
And is it pronounced Darcy?
Yes.
Kent Darcy.
Yeah.
And so, Kent, what brings you to the NRB?
Well, we're here with the Ministry Adults with Divorced Parents Ministries.
Really?
Yes, been doing it for 20 years. And what we found, the Lord called us to come. This is our first NRB. And we felt the Lord leading us here because half of everybody here has divorced parents. And these people are communicating to many more people who have divorced parents. And nobody's talking about the issues that impact adults with divorced parents.
Wow, I'm an adult with a divorce. I must be amongst a great crowd. And so, yeah, I've been an adult with a divorced parent since, when I was in my early 20s, maybe late teens when my parents divorced.
Yeah, I was 13.
And it impacts, and I remember that, just when you mentioned it, and I was not a Christian at the time, and did not really know exactly how to process all of it. But what I remember feeling distinctly is, especially since I wasn't a Christian, I don't have a home anymore.
Yep.
It's an orphan spirit.
Yep. There's no home.
I could go to my mom's house or I could go to my dad's house, but neither one was home.
Exactly. And we crave that.
Right.
Home, stability.
And so you've been working with this group. And so when you say you got all these essentially the adults with
Divorced
parents,
Yeah.
the way you indicated was that there's something we need to know.
Yes. Basically, it's really important to understand that there's basic issues that impact us. Don't be in denial like I was. I was 13 when my parents divorced. And if you'd asked me, Kent, is it okay? How you doing? Well, the holidays are a hassle, but other than that, I'm fine. I wasn't fine.
Right.
And basically what I learned was that we deal with anger. We have a variety of fears: fear of conflict, fear of abandonment, fear of divorce, fear of doom. We don't trust anybody. And it also distorts our view of Scripture. Because for instance, Ephesians 6 talks about honor your father and your mother. And we're sitting in the pews going, well, that might be good for you on my right and you on my left, but honor my father, honor my mother. Are you kidding me? And we start to cherry pick which scriptures are true. Or when you look at that scripture, honor your father and your mother, it presupposes they're together. So when you hear it coming from the pulpit, they're talking to people who have parents who are together. And again, we start to cherry pick the scriptures that are true and which ones don't apply to me. And that's a path to not good things.
And so obviously you've been writing and working within this ministry a lot of years.
Over 20 years.
And so how did God put it on your heart to do something, or was it something drastic that happened in your own life? What if we go back 20 years, what happened?
Well, basically I was at a marriage retreat weekend. And
you were married at this time?
Yes. And I didn't think it was that bad, by the way. But I agreed to go to the marriage retreat weekend. I was angry and just not great. And the Lord said, Ken, if you don't get your act together, you're on the same emotional path as your dad. And at that point, my dad, who was an adult child of divorce, from an adult child of divorce, from an adult child of divorce, which is very common, had already divorced twice and was heading towards his third marriage. And that scared me to death because I love my wife. We just celebrated 43 years. And I didn't want a divorce. So I did a lot of research. And basically, I was serving on a deacon board at the time and said, there's millions of me out there and we don't know what's going on. He said, well, share it. I did my first all-day seminar in 2004. And ever since, I've been sharing the word that there's hope in Christ, but we need to know what the issues are so we can pray intelligently. And since I started 20 plus years ago, we're now dealing with the epidemic of gray divorce, which is where parents wait until they're grown to get divorced. And that creates a whole myriad of other issues.
Whoa, gray divorce. There's a term I've never heard of.
Yeah, people don't know. They know that people are divorcing after 35, 40, 45 years, but the term is technically gray divorce.
Where does that come from? I'm just curious. Gray, meaning the people are gray-headed before they divorce?
Basically, empty nest. Yeah, that's where the term actually came from. But it's epidemics. It's 1 in 3 right now.
And so essentially when the kids are grown, they split up.
Yes, they figure, well, and there's no malice. If you're listening and you're divorced, we're not throwing stones. We're simply saying it happened. We need to deal with it. But they feel that it's not going to impact the kids because they're grown. And in reality, it's quite the opposite. Because now you used to go to grandpa and grandma's house. Now you're telling your kids you're going to grandpa or grandma's house. And you got to explain it to your kids, and you don't even know why. And it just creates a whole myriad of issues like the loyalty challenge, which everybody has when their parents divorce. But as adults, you're old enough to know why your dad is a whatever or your mom is a whatever. And it causes this amazing tension and anxiety because the parents are kind of forcing you to pick who do you love more.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And that happens. And interestingly, that's my case.
Okay.
My parents waited till my brother graduated.
The last one.
He graduated from high school.
Yep.
And boom, they divorced immediately, almost thereafter. Like they were waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, the kids will get the call, October-ish, November, right before Thanksgiving when they're coming home. And, by the way, when you come home, mom or dad aren't going to be there when you get home. And hopefully there will be somebody there that can talk them through it and say, no, you don't quit school, stay in college. Because a lot of people, they will not return that next semester because it just derails them. But it's really important to understand that there is hope. Get the correct information of what's going on and don't be in denial like I was.
Wow. Yeah, look how much we've learned already, and we've just been sitting here for a couple minutes. And so you want to, your ministry is more to, I assume, the victims of that, the children,
Yeah.
but also, I guess, to married couples as well, to say, hey,
Right. Well, like the book that we just released is, preparing to say I do when parents say I don't. It's the premarital guide for adults with divorced parents. And basically what I found, because I'm also a licensed professional counselor, is that in premarital materials and traditional premarital materials, none of them touch on any of the divorce stuff. If one of the parents had an affair, you're walking down the aisle not trusting your spouse. You have women walking down the aisle going, well, yeah, I love him, but I will have my own money. I will have my own accounts because I will never get caught off guard like my mom did. And we're talking about leaving and cleaving, but it's not going to take well because we have all these issues. So basically what I deal with is the issues that you look at that strengthen marriages. You go to a marriage conference, I say, these are the 5 pillars of things that strengthen a marriage, are the very issues that adults with divorced parents struggle with. And we need to touch on those issues before they walk down the aisle themselves.
there you go. That's fascinating to know. And so, when I look at my own story, like would naturally be the case,
Uh-huh.
I was divorced. This is my third marriage, but we've been married 37 years.
Great.
So
Yeah.
God to the rescue, and the other 2 were before I was. Then this one helped lead me to Christ.
All right.
And so but I see that. Oh man, what God was telling you was happening in your life certainly derails in that idea of the orphan spirit is there. So
Yes.
you got a couple books you handed me.
Mhm.
You handed Choose a Better Path and Preparing to Say I Do When Parents Said I Don't. This is for the couple that's thinking about getting married.
Yep, they're getting married, engaged, whatever. Every college age leader, every adult leader, every church pastor should have that book because half of everybody, most of the couples they're marrying have at least one adult child of divorce in the mix.
Well, great. That's amazing. So you can see that. That's beyond cool. This one here says Choose a Better Path, Overcoming the Impact of Your Parents' Divorce. So this is more like just for the children, right?
Well, basically, that's for the adults when to learn
The
how it
children
impacts
that were
them.
divorced, if they're adults at this point.
Right. There's a chapter in on Great Divorce, but basically what it does is it's a user-friendly devotional that helps them discover how did it impact me? Because for the most part, we don't know. Anger, unforgiveness, triggers, fears. How is it impacting me? There's a chapter in there called God, I Don't Want to Forgive. Because a lot of times we don't want to forgive. Or there's another chapter in there, I said I'm not angry. Because we are angry. But the book basically helps people discover the major issues that could be impacting them.
Right. I like this. The Ghost of Christmas Past. And then, like you said, it's set up as a devotional. So a moment with God, my thoughts on this journey. And so this is set up, I assume there's 365 of them or something.
Nope,
here?
it's just a basic devotional. But one of the things that a surprise about that book was when I wrote the book, I was concerned that divorced parents would think I was bashing them. And that was not my heart. And besides, it's not even biblical. We honor our father and our mother. But what I found is some of my greatest fans of that book have been the divorced parents because it gives them a dialogue to be able to speak to their kids. Because when in a family, it tends to be child is first and then the parents because the child's schedules and all that. Divorce flips that. And it becomes parents' priorities and then the kids. So when they divorce and they want to help their kids, and they do, they don't know how to do it. And what I found is that this book has helped divorced parents understand maybe what their kids are experiencing and go, you know what? I read this thing in this book. Is that how you're feeling? And it opens up a dialogue, and it's been very successful for divorced parents as well.
And so first trip to the NRB, what are you hoping happens here?
It is so important that this message, I appreciate this time because nobody is talking about this. And there's millions of us out there that are hurting, marching towards divorce and don't know why. And now we need to know, first, there is hope. With God, there's always hope. And I'm a walking testimony of that because I was a mess. I was a mess. But God came in once I learned what the issues were. I could pray more intelligently. And then God can come in and bring the healing that he hopes for all of us to have. That's his heart. That's his desire. So my hope here at NRB is that more people will be bold like you and courageous like you and talk about a topic that nobody wants to talk about, but affects an awful lot of people.
Oh my gosh, it's fascinating. It was the interview before the last one that I was speaking with. Oh, I don't have his page here, but it's Communio, which is working with churches to make sure that they're strengthening marriages and really changing divorce rates. I don't know if you're familiar with
No,
them.
I'll have to check them all out
Absolutely,
here.
it's called Communio, and
Okay.
they work with pastors and church leaders. They literally felt like they were partially responsible for a gigantic drop in the divorce rate in Jacksonville, Florida,
Oh,
over a period of time. So they're quite successful, and had an amazing discussion with him. And then, as God would have it, here we come a couple later, and I get you, which I understand on all sorts of, like, oh my gosh, you couldn't be more right.
I just connect the
and
dots.
But then obviously, and I can just tell you from years of doing this, I'm 20, I guess,
Yeah.
that inherently, 2 Corinthians chapter 1, God has comforted you with comfort that
That's
you
our
can
key
comfort
verse.
others with comfort you were comforted with.
That's in both those books.
And of course, because it's exactly what it's your life, and it's
Yes.
my life too, by the way,
Yeah.
and anybody else's life. Like your ministry will be born out of things that God is the hero of the story.
Yeah.
In each case, and it's absolutely beautiful that he brought you to our audience today and
I'm
gave
very
us a
thankful.
chance. And I certainly want to have you on some shows in the future.
We could
as-
talk
as-
about one topic, and there's a bunch of resources. We talked about the 2 books, but there's a lot more on our website, hope4adp.com. It's hope, the number 4, adp.com. There's blogs, podcasts, videos. Also, I say it's not the Kent Darcy show. I have a resource page that has the best resources out there to help people overcome those issues.
I love it. I absolutely love it. This is absolutely cool.
Yes, the
Here it is. Hope 4, the number 4, ADP, and that's not automated data processing. That's
Adults with
Just like
divorced parents.
Adults with divorced parents. Those of us who got paychecks from those people for years, we would know what ADP is, but that's not them.
Oh, that's true.
This
yeah.
is adults with divorced parents. Hope4adp.com. God bless you, man. I'm so excited for what God's doing with your ministry.
I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's all we got for it. And we appreciate you very much. And I will be in touch, I assure you, because that's some great ministry you've got there. I'm honored to have done this with you, sir. I got it. Thank you. So is there a 2:30? Is it you guys? Are you the 2:30 appointment? Okay, wonderful. Have a seat. I was wondering who was next, and I guess it's them.
Here's some questions. Here's my book.
Okay, have a seat right here. And is your wife going to be with you?
Could she join us?
Please sit. Put on a headphone. It's Dave Hutch. There he is. Hey, Tag. Well, good. We're going to get him on a mic and we'll be able to hear it. Yeah, go ahead and put these on because we are streaming right now. People can't hear you, and they're like, "Why are you not talking when I can hear you?" Because please, and by all means, jump in.
My wife Tracy, she
Yeah,
she
pull
can-
it up. There you go.
You can be the star of the show here.
And so now you can tell everybody, like, "Oh my goodness, this is Dave," and I'll let you pronounce your last name because I don't want to bother.
Haytag rhymes with Maytag, but Haytag.
So the J that is pronounced a G.
Correct.
Hey, Tag.
I've been cursed ever since somebody came over on Ellis Island.
And that's how they spelled it. From where? Where were you?
Bohemia.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, so in Bohemia, they pronounce J as a G.
Well, it should be
I've-
Huttai. It should be Huttai, but somebody butchered it, made it Haytag, and I don't know why.
I love it. I love it. But getting to the actual point of the issue is he wrote a book. called the Craftsman's Code. And so I'm guessing you're a craftsman.
I am. I'm a machinist. I'm a journeyman gear maker.
And clearly God taught you a lot in all those years as a journeyman machinist. And you may not know this, but I do the Christian Car Guy radio show, and most people would actually know me as the Christian Car Guy.
You do? You are? Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
And so I have a pretty good understanding of what a machinist, because you can imagine I grew up 40 years in the car business, in the service department.
Yeah.
And we did a whole lot of work with machinists.
You're my people. This is awesome.
So there's gears involved, all sorts of gears. And so I'm even more intrigued.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you knew, well, I'm going to let you.
No,
get
go
into
ahead.
This.
This is great. This is great.
That in the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, I think it's verse 17, they talk about that on the day that God comes back, there's going to be this amazing rest. It could be translated peace, but it probably in Hebrew is better translated silence. And it comes from the root of the word plow or engrave.
Intriguing.
Okay. And when you think about, the man in Exodus who was gifted to be able to do all these things with his hands, that when you're working with your hands, like, and precise work like this, when you know that God gave you this gift and he wanted you to do exactly that, there is a peace and that comes, that silence. In other words, you're not second guessing yourself anymore. I know exactly what God wants here.
Yeah.
And I bet he put that on your heart to write this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think blue collar people, craftsmen, tradesmen of all kind have been overlooked for so long that we built our civilizations. We are the foundations of our communities, and yet our churches and our schools often look down on us, those who know how to build and create and are craftsmen. So part of my heart is to validate blue collar people, but especially kids that aren't necessarily like, I often say, I never had one teacher in school who said, "Oh, you're college material." No, I don't know how to take that, but I never did, because everybody assumed I'm going to go work for my dad in the gear shop, who started it in 1962. And so I came up through the shop. I was a machinist. I became a journeyman by the time I was 22. And then the Lord got a hold of me. My dad was an angry atheist. My mom was a very devout believer. And so when the Lord got a hold of me, the message I got over and over was like, "Oh, you should go into ministry then," right? And so I did. I took that career path of, I'm supposed to be a pastor. And 7 years later, I was up at a theological graduate school up in Regent College in Canada. And I took one of those classes that said, "Oh, here's what color your parachute is. It's what you're gifted at. This is what you're calling." And after running away from the shop, because my dad had a quarter barrel of beer in it, pornography was everywhere, I got this report back that said, quote, "You are ideally suited to run a small family-run manufacturing company." And I screamed. My wife Tracy is sitting here. She cried.
See, he was a pastor.
Yeah, for a couple of years. He was a youth
At
pastor.
this point, and there you were.
Going to school to become a pastor.
Yeah, going to graduate school to become a pastor.
And God called me into ministry, which meant working in the shop.
How amazing. And so, okay. And then what?
So I thought we'd be in the shop for maybe 2 years, 5 years at the longest, and God would really show me what we were supposed to do with our lives, because my biggest wound was, can Jesus be relevant even in a blue collar, dirty, dark, dangerous environment? And I when Tracy and I met on a short-term mission trip in Mexico, I've done that, inner city work in LA, youth pastor, but the big wound in my heart was, is Jesus relevant even to the blue collar people? Can he fix my family? So my master's, it's kind of funny, my master's degree was, what effect can the kingdom have on a blue collar shop in my family? And so that like I said, I thought that would be 5 years, and this is year 34. Still there, still running the shop. Our our sons are taking it over, but it's been a 30-some year experiment and question of how relevant is the kingdom to blue collar people.
Well, that, inquiring minds now have about 47 questions. Don't let me get out of this without finding out about your family that you left behind, so to speak, your father, etc. But before we get to that, the book is called The Craftsman Code, and of course that's the question that clearly is on everybody's mind. Is like, okay, there's a code, and so many of us don't realize the gifting it requires to be a craftsman.
Yes,
and the anointing it requires to be a craftsman.
Right,
and so I'm definitely fascinated to, like, okay, what does it mean, the Craftsman Code?
Well, we all live according to a worldview, whether we recognize it or not. And all these kids that we work with in our high schools, they all have a worldview. And so we started an organization, actually a course called Craftsmen with Character, for high school students to find their way into our businesses and our trades. And I had to go back to school one more time to study education and think, like, how do these kids learn? How did I learn? I'm a task learner. I learn by work with my hands. And the conclusion was, we learn through mentoring, through modeling, through job shadowing, through working with our hands, being around professionals. And the other part of it is we have to have that connection, because their values, their character gets modeled and passed on to us. It's not just a bunch of words. We need to see it lived out. So I developed this whole thing, and the code are the 6 principles that I felt as a teenager I needed to hear, because I was a train wreck. My dad actually didn't think I'd amount to anything until the Lord got a hold of me. So thinking back, I wanted a code that was kind of the blue collar gospel. Like, what do I need to know as a young person, that this is what I need to base my life on? And so there's the 6 principles. And number 1, we make the kids say these out loud. It's really fun as a dad. Number 1, I'm not the center of the universe. And it's not a smackdown, though. As a car guy, you get it, right? There's a whole generations of people that became mechanics, right? So you're joining this incredible fraternity of people who learned the trade. So you're joining something way bigger than yourself. So you're not the center of the universe. You want me to keep going?
Yes.
Okay. And number 2 is just as fun to make them say it. It's, I don't know everything or nearly as much as I think I do. And so that's the humility that we need as people, to understand that we are always learning. Whatever worldview we had, it probably needs to be corrected. And we need a level of humility to learn. Number 3, there's dignity and purpose in knowing my trade. Because again, that message to blue collar kids and those of us in the trades, we just don't matter. We're not rich, famous. Well, some of us are rich actually, in the trades. If they do their job well, they can be. But the whole message that the world sends us, that it's got to be being an influencer, and it's got athlete, sports stars, etc. But there's dignity in what we do. We have built our civilizations. We are the foundations of our communities. Nothing that we have in this room as we're talking.
I wish. I wish. I have a member of my church. I am a pastor amongst any other opportunities that God gave me. But I have in my church an 88-year-old. I think he's 80. Turned 89 on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is the best transmission mechanic probably on the planet Earth.
Right.
And that man is dropping transmissions to this day.
Wow.
And you're going to tell me there's not dignity?
Exactly.
In this man, I'm like,
yeah.
And he was in the hospital recently, and I had to go get something out of his shop, and he wasn't in it, and I wasn't in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is an absolute treasure of, like, everybody should see what this man is surrounded in order to be able to do his task.
Yeah.
And the dignity and the honor of this man's life it's significant. So I have a segment in the Christian Car Guy Show called In the Garage with RK, to where he talks every week about what because how important is that? I mean, it's absolutely huge. I hate we don't have about 2 weeks to talk.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
you're right on.
You can see that this code is for real. And as you're listening to this, you're thinking, oh my gosh, because I would not have understood this if I hadn't, John Eldridge teaches about being fathered by God.
Yeah.
And we're all being fathered all the time, whether we know it or not.
Yep.
And there is something that happens when a man fixes his lawnmower. Okay.
Yeah.
You may not
Yeah,
realize it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
if YouTube fathered you or somebody that knew
Yeah.
how to do it and they showed you, this is the way that you put that head bolt in,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when they do that and you pull that thing and that mower starts, you feel like a man, like here I am, like, man, right?
Oh, exactly.
There's a feeling that only
Exactly.
comes from that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can teach,
Yeah.
right, as a mentor,
Yep.
another young man, how to
Yes.
get that feeling like I have what it takes to be a man.
Yes.
And part of that is that idea of mentoring. And so I love that. And it's so much when you think about Jesus,
Yeah.
he turned to dad about everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Right. Right.
And he was he wasn't the
Yeah.
center of the universe as far as
Yeah. Yeah.
he clearly everything he was spending time in prayer
Yep.
with at every turn because he was being fathered by God.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And number 4 of the Craftsman Code is the world needs me. Right. So you take that dignity and recognizing that we're all made in the image of God. We all bring gifts and talents to play in whatever it might be. And so these kids and you and I, we need to know that we're not an accident. So we just keep pressing this in. And number 5 is pay as reward for my efforts. It's not my main motivation. It's just what you said. It's having that sense of accomplishment. Man, look what I did. Right. I mean, not to get too crude, but how many people are parents and their 2-year-old poops in the potty and they go, look what I did. Look what I did. Right.
Right. No, exactly.
Yeah, right?
It's an accomplishment. And
Yeah.
And you want to feel like
Yeah.
God,
That we
you want-
matter. We did something, right? That's the way God
absolutely
created
beautiful.
us.
So we got to
Yeah.
get to number 6. It's in there.
Every person has unique gifts and talents.
Yeah.
Every person. So we can appreciate everybody's talents. Every person had giftedness. I don't care. And often with the students that we work with, they might be C, D, F students. And they've been sent this message. They don't matter. They're not smart. And our message is no, you're just smart differently. You could be one of the, like your friend, the transmission, probably one of the smartest people on the planet when it comes to transmissions. All these kids have gifts and talents. We just got to give them that message that they're not here by accident. You have a purpose. You have a place in our world.
I taught special needs for over 20 years at
Did
our
you really?
church.
Wow.
And I can assure you, and I would say it this way, and I couldn't agree with you more, that every single human being, everybody on the planet, they reflect God
Yes.
in a unique way.
Yep.
And so whatever that gift or talent is, it's a reflection of God. And the thing of it is, if you don't reflect it, nobody else can.
Right.
And you're
Right.
cheating the world.
Right.
And you're cheating the angels.
Right.
And you're cheating past generations of
Yes.
that reflection of God because you don't step into
Yeah.
what it is that because again, you made a choice. When I listen to the story and you think about what Dave went through, that I'm called to be a pastor. That's a higher calling than being a mechanic. Oh yeah. No. No. Your high calling is to be what God called you to be.
Gear
And,
maker.
and so if that's what that is, like, oh my gosh, then reflect that. And otherwise we'd be cheated out of the
Yes.
Craftsman Code.
Yeah.
Like none of us, we'd never be able to see that. And so you couldn't be more right. So we all reflect God in a very
Yes.
unique way. And because he gave that to you, that's his spark.
Yeah.
And we owe it, no doubt, to everyone
Yeah.
around us
Yeah.
to walk into that.
Tracy tells me that all the time. She's always telling me, you got to live it out. Live it out. This God's positioned you to do this.
And
right?
so, wow, I hate we are beyond out of time, but I got to know, man, this was a big investment to come to the NRB.
Uh-huh.
And so what are you hoping God will do with what you've sacrificed here?
My heart and prayer is that businesses, business people, men and women could understand how impactful they could be with the next generation and to really become mentoring cultures for our kids, our young kids throughout our country, throughout our world, really, because God has called us to mentor that next generation. And Eugene Peterson had a great quote. He said, I contend that the primary location of spiritual development happens where? In the workplace. And as working folks, if we can understand that and mentor these kids in our businesses, we will change the world.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. Thank you. Dave,
Hey,
That's it.
tag.
Hey tag, I'll get it. When you told me it rhymes with Maytag, then I got it. But other than that, and how that exactly worked, and thank you, man. I am so honored that you would take time here to share this with the Truth listeners, and
this is a
we
pleasure.
will have you back somehow in my regular radio shows.
Oh, I'd love it.
Yes.
I love connecting. I love to hear your stories. This is
Yeah.
great stuff.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right.
God bless.
God bless you.
Have
Thank
a great
you,
convention.
Abby. All right. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Thank you again. It was an honor, truly. Keep up the great work.
You got the book, but
Yes, I need that. I definitely need that. A card. So God bless.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. So do I have a 345? Or that was it? Okay, we're going to get ready for Truth Talk Live. That will be coming on here in about, I guess, 20 minutes. So thanks for watching, and we will be back with Truth Talk Live at 4. God bless.